Blog Talk Radio.
Aloha and good evening. This is Andrew Aloha with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio, live out of Sedona, Arizona. And in this day and age here, lately it's been pretty hot, so if you guys decide to visit out here, that's what you're going to be getting. Everybody's been kind of complaining, going, oh, we need some rain, we need some rain. So if you have some rain that you want to send this way, feel free to do so. Thank you very much. If you'll bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and go and work with the technical aspect of the show so that I can make sure everything's up and going. But just to let you know, we are going to be taking questions. I've talked to our guest tonight is going to be Sheldan Nidle. I don't know if you know who he is, but just a little bit of info. He's been in contact with UFOs and extraterrestrials since he was a kid or a child. And so he's bringing us tonight a wealth of information concerning all this. And so if you want to have any questions along this lines that you want to ask, feel free to call us here at 646-716-4251, 646-716-4251. Welcome, Sheldan. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate your taking some time out to be with us here now and share with us some of your wealth of information. I understand that you're going to be at a galactic gathering in Greenwood Village, Colorado. Is that correct?
I think so. I don't know exactly, but it's anyway. We can just make it the whole area. Just say we'll be in Denver.
Okay, it'd be in Denver. So we want to know what first of all, what I'd like to do. If I have a couple of questions before we go into depth in this. I want to know kind of what your experience was in growing up with all this type of lifestyle, and then how it was, what were your steps were to get to where you're at now, and then I kind of want to know what your intentions are into the future, in terms of what your immediacy, in terms of what's going on with that.
Well, as far as growing up, it was a very unusual childhood. My parents were in a position between being in awe and fear, and also being angry about the situation that was there because I was growing up with them. So it was a kind of a strange thing down here because I went between being where I could actually tell my parents what to do, and they would do it, to a point where they would actually attack me. My dad beat me up quite regularly. And
wow.
So I went back and forth between that. So I called this place hell. And up there in the ships was, to me, heaven, because these were the kindest, most incredible, angelic beings. You would look into their eyes and you would just, if you had any fear or upsetness or anger or anything for what was happening to you when you were down here on the planet, the process was it just instantaneously went away. And you felt immediately in a bliss. And the ship up there was in total service, so you felt immediately cared for and loved. And everybody on the ship was just the same way as I just described. They were totally in a process of caring, in a process of love, and in a process of serving you, and of teaching you knowledge about who you were and why you were here. And so that was what I experienced up on the ships. It was this high technology, this great love, this wonderful, constant feeling of feeling respected and honored. And then down here I would feel just the opposite. I would feel very isolated, very alienated. If I talked about any of this with kids my age, when I was in first and second grade, especially in school, I was laughed at, and all kinds of crazy things were going on where they would make fun of me, etc. And as a result, I developed about going to school, extreme stuttering. So by the time I was in third grade, I had speech classes and all that, and basically I would get out of class and go home, and I would be perfectly normal. I wouldn't stutter at all. I would have perfect voice. The minute I got to school, I would stutter, and people were giving me, these speech therapists were constantly telling me that I had a tremendous speech problem, and I knew it was a school, and I kept telling them that, and they wouldn't believe me. So I kept going. I had to go when I was in third grade. I had to completely have this extra hour after school for speech class. It was ridiculous. But anyway, that's what they believed. So there's nothing I could do about it. It was school. It was an order from the principal. I had to go to this class. So I went, and then they taught me all these things about breathing and all this other stuff, and I told them I didn't need it. And so I'd go home and I'd talk normal, and I'd go back to school and I'd stutter because I was just, school to me was something that was so primitive and fear-based. I just hated it, and that's how I reacted to it. I was very stressed. And so I grew up in my young age, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, as being completely in fear of the whole process of what was going on in their school. And in the school on the ships, I was learning all these incredible things, and I was in joy, and I was picking up information, and I was actually reading fast enough that I could actually go through whole libraries. I would go through a whole library in about 3 or 4 days. The only thing, because I was such a young kid, they wouldn't let me get near with a romance novel, so that was about it. And so I would absorb everything, encyclopedias, magazines, all kinds of books, different subjects. The way they would teach me was they'd do two things. First, they would show me stuff that was in their special learning machine about a certain subject, so I would get their basic outline. And then they would ask me to come down into this planet and go to the libraries and read books. And then they would ask me what I'd learned from what I had learned on the ship to what I had learned in the libraries and class here. And so I just got to a point where I started seeing this huge dichotomy between what was taught here as truths and what was taught as truths up there. So I felt very kind of like schizoid the way the whole process was done. But I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, I had an encyclopedic knowledge by the time I was 8 years old because by 9 I had read through the entire Encyclopedia Britannica from one volume to the other. So I'd read whole dictionaries. I was the kind of guy who could pick up a dictionary as a reading book and read all the way through it and enjoy it. And I just was a sponge about knowledge, and especially what they were teaching me on the ship. So my experience was that people on this planet, when I would talk about this stuff, would be in fear about it. And also what I could do. I was telepathic. I had telekinesis. I could put thoughts in other people's minds. I could know what people were saying. It was, to them, kind of scary. So by the time I became a teenager, I started seeing what I was doing as an impediment to doing anything on this planet. And so I told them around I was 14 or 15 that I would just have to leave what they were doing and not go up anymore and just totally get into science on this planet. And, of course, that didn't work, but they went away saying only two things, which was you have a mission to perform, and at the proper time we'll be back. And, of course, what they did was they watched over me. And I have a lot of strange, crazy incidences when I was growing up and going to college and like that, where I was totally watched over, where I had incidences that could have been dangerous. So the result is that my relationship to people on this planet is I am not very easily, you might not say I'm very a sociable type, from all that I took when I was a kid into even high school to what was on the ship. I was much more sociable up there, but I tend to be a person who is not a people person. I'm not really oriented that way. I tend to be extremely shy because I was treated very badly by my dad, and I was also treated very badly by most people. So I do not look upon people on this planet in a very positive note, but I look upon what's about to happen to people on this planet in a very positive note. So I have a kind of crazy thing where I know what's happening, and I know the wonderful love and care everybody has, but I also know in 3D way people act. And so I have a dichotomy going between what people do and how society is set up versus what I know is going to happen, and also about the changes in consciousness. So that's basically the changes, et cetera, that have happened to me when I was a kid to where I am today.
Exactly. Now, first of all, I got to say this, Sheldon. For those callers that are on the line right now, if you can be patient, I appreciate your calling in, and we will get to you. I understand what you're talking about because I have a girlfriend named Shanti, and she grew up very similarly to what you're explaining right now, and I can really understand what it is that you're talking about. in the frame of reference, I want to ask, how often